Hello, and welcome to How to Make Big Moves in Storage with Little Risk. Today's webinar is sponsored by Pure Storage and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, and slide advancement issues. But if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. There's a link for getting started with Pure. There's also a link to the Gorilla Guide Book Club where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's great printed resources on technology topics, as well as a link to the ATM Event Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we will be giving away a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. To help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. At the end of the event, we'll look at all the questions, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. And with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. Taruna Gandhi, who's Vice President of Product Marketing at Pure Storage, and Anil Abraham, who's Director of Infrastructure Engineering at CareFirst. So Taruna, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Scott. So I am Taruna Gandhi. I lead product marketing for Pure Storage, especially focusing on the Evergreen subscriptions. And very excited to have Anil Abraham join us today. Anil is from CareFirst, and he's going to talk to you about his experience with Pure, but generally his experience extends well beyond what he's done with Pure. So I'm really looking forward to getting some tips and tricks from Anil as well. So Anil, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about CareFirst, and we'll get this started.
Sounds good. We'll start with CareFirst. We are a healthcare plan, Blue Cross Blue Shield healthcare plan in the Mid-Atlantic area. We are very much a mission-driven company. We're a not-for-profit company. Our three tenets, part of our mission, is providing affordable and accessible healthcare to our members, but at the same time, assisting and supporting public and private healthcare initiatives for individuals without healthcare, and also promoting the integration of our healthcare systems in our jurisdictions. So everything we do and transformative from a healthcare perspective, we focus on those three tenets going forward. Maximizing healthcare coverage for our region. And my perspective and my role within that is Director of Platform Solutions. So I have traditional infrastructure, servers, storage, networking, as well as cloud infrastructure, database, and middleware.
All right. And how long have you been a customer of Pure Storage?
It's been at least 7 to 8 years. Where we started out a long time ago, even in the Flash days, and then we've iterated ever since then. It's been quite the journey, very successful journey, and great partnership.
All right, awesome. And tell us a little bit about why you chose Pure Storage in the first place. Like, what were some of the benefits you were looking for when you went with Pure, and and why Evergreen in particular? And for those who don't know, Evergreen One is storage as a service from Pure Storage. So Anil, walk us a little bit about your journey with Pure, and how did you decide to switch to Evergreen One over time?
That's a great question, and it's we have such a long history. I'll walk you through it. It originally started with a simple question that my CIO asked me: is like, it seems like we're buying storage, the same storage, over and over again. And I went away from it. I just couldn't quite understand the question at first, but I went away from it. It's like, he kind of has a point. We buy that storage, it gets more and more expensive support. Eventually, the other vendor, makes you buy another piece of storage. You're basically buying that same storage all over again, multiple times, and repeat, rinse and repeat. And so I walked away and thought about it, and I went to a Gartner, conference, and I saw Pure Storage, still relatively new company at the time, and they just had a different message altogether. And I was very interested. We vetted them. We did some POCs with them, and we gave them an opportunity to have a small pod of our VDI infrastructure backend storage. And what we saw is that performance was fantastic. Compression, dedupe was better than anything we've ever seen. And so we were really pleased with the product. And so the next time we had to do a storage refresh, we included them in the overall kind of RFP process. And we took a chance. We were very much a Dell EMC IBM shop in the past, and we went down the Pure path, and again, saw better performance in the flash array, incredible deduping and compression as far as that's concerned. The ease of use was significantly better. And so all in all, it was a really great experience. And as we were on the flash array for a significant period of time, and we migrated over to the Evergreen One, primarily because it gives us flexibility, because we were decommissioning data centers, we were moving data centers, and I was no longer tied to the actual physical device, and it became more like a cloud service model, which was attractive to us because we were kind of in flux. What we're doing with cloud, what we're doing with our data centers, and that sort of thing. So I guess that would be the story.
All right. Yeah, that's actually pretty awesome, right? And I'm glad you brought up, some of the core benefits of the Evergreen architecture. The fact that it's probably the only storage that gets better over time, right? So gone are the days where you have to throw out your storage at every storage refresh and worry about, application migration and data migration and plan for that for months in advance. But then you also talked about Evergreen One, which is subscription, right? So and storage as a service subscription, which may be a little bit new for some of our listeners and watchers on this webinar. So talk to us a little bit about the difference between a service, storage as a service, and traditional storage, right? A key part over there is the SLA guarantee. So tell us what your experience has been with the storage SLAs.
So from a storage SLA perspective, Pure has been phenomenal. We've had multiple upgrades, called multiple devices. When we used to do storage upgrades, it was a bare knuckle kind of white knuckle experience, you can say, in the past with issues. But we really had either going from upgrades, software updates, controller upgrades, anything along those lines has been seamless. And even when we've had some issues where we thought were storage related, they potentially could be related to a driver on a server. But the support team was really excellent to help us to discover that, as far as that's concerned. Now, why we went to Evergreen One is really, like I mentioned before, it gives us a lot of flexibility. So if we one day have a need to grow bigger than what we originally subscribed, it's okay. It's very much a cloud on-premise model. So you're not locked into, I only have X number of terabytes on this array, and that's all I can use. Oftentimes, they bring in more storage than you subscribed for, so there's an ability to kind of grow kind of instantaneously and being able to true up on a quarterly basis. So it really opens up a lot of opportunities to move quickly if there's a particular need from an application or from the business. Because we already had that storage in place. The other factors, our procurement cycle, like many folks, it can be lengthy, and so having that ability to have that in place is really a wonderful benefit for us.
Yeah, no, very, very, very interesting. And sorry, my apologies. My camera seems to be acting up and not want to stay where I want it to. Either it's too high or too low. That's what I'm looking at. So, the joys of Zoom. Maybe I will adjust it. Maybe it will stay that way. Who knows? Okay. All right. But let's keep going. When we were prepping for this webinar, Anil, at one time your goal was to move everything to the cloud, and that changed over time, right? So walk us through what you were thinking. You were at one time thinking all of your content and data would actually move to the cloud, and what changed and why. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, it was very much aspirational to be 100% in the cloud. I think what we discover thing as you go through the journey, right? We still are in our cloud migration, but we realize along the way is like, look, there are things that one can't move to the cloud because it's legacy, right? Mainframe, AIX, some of these other workloads, or maybe old versions of Windows or Linux operating systems. Those have to have a place. They still run a lot of business through those applications, so you have to keep them around. And also the cost of refactoring applications are so high, it may not make sense to refactor an application that you may be replacing, down the road. So having an ability to run workloads on-prem, it gives you some flexibility as you go through this cloud journey.
Yeah, no, that will be very interesting to some of our viewers, right? I'm pretty sure many of them are grappling with the same kind of issues. Do I move everything to the cloud? Where do things stay? But I remember somebody at one time told me cloud is not a destination, it's an operating model. And many of our viewers look at cloud as like, I want to move everything to the public cloud, or I want to keep things on premises or colo or whatnot. Talk to us a little bit about the operating model, about the cloud operating model versus thinking about cloud as a destination.
Yeah, I would say the way I look at it is, my team is a broker of infrastructure services. So we may have services that exist on-prem. We have services that exist in the cloud. We would partner with the application team or the business to see where's the best fit for that particular service, and we can go through kind of the use cases and modeling and that sort of thing, either from an SLA perspective, a risk perspective. We have a lot of sensitive data. Being a healthcare company, what is the best fit? As far as us concerned. So I think less about, I hope when my team, when my application and business comes to me, I hope they are not thinking about, is it going to be in cloud or on premise? I hope I will obfuscate that a little bit for them so that we provide them the best service possible for what they're looking for.
And as you're thinking about your future strategy, right, as a broker of services, no matter where the services come from, what role does Evergreen One play in that?
Yeah, so I think the flexibility, is the key, and the availability is the key. And the fact that I don't have to constantly have to buy storage, it's there. It's very much a cloud-like model on-prem. So I have to think about it honestly a little less because it is so reliable and it's there. And that gives me the ability to focus on other things around business value and things along those lines. So I almost think of it as a cloud-like capability because it is something I don't have to think about all the time because it is so available and and great performance.
Yeah, no, that I think you hit the nail on the head, right? When people think of cloud, the reason they're going to cloud is because they don't have to worry about it. Like, you always assume that the capacity will be there, the availability will be there, you'll be able to scale as needed. Let's shift a little bit and talk about how the Evergreen model may have impacted how you plan for future storage expansion, right? I mean, we all know data is increasing. I talk to a lot of customers where they think they have a handle on how fast their storage needs will grow, but there are quite a few who it's completely unpredictable. It makes planning a real nightmare for many of our customers. So tell us about how Evergreen One has impacted your procurement and planning processes.
Well, I would say, in the older days before Pure, the vast majority of our time in this storage space was around, okay, procuring storage, spending, 12 to 18 months to migrate the data off, and then rinse and repeat, right? So now we have more time around capacity planning, with some of the Pure One, capacity tooling, options and analytics that's provided to us. We can, be a little bit more proactive and predictive on how our storage is growing. So it really, if we get in front of it, we're a little bit more proactive than where we were back in the days, very reactive or having to stay known to the business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. And what do you do if you have like spiky workloads, right? I mean, like, maybe you are a company that relies on like seasonal changes and whatnot. Like, have you run into any experience where you had a sudden spike in capacity, and how was Pure and particularly Evergreen One able to help with that?
So couple things, which is, the functionality of the Pure devices that are really great is because we're proactively monitoring the workload. So we have to move a particular LUN from one array to another. We can do that dynamically without any impact to the application. That's one thing. And also because there's more storage on the floor than we may necessarily need, we can grow, very quickly and come back down. We are a healthcare company, so we do have open enrollment. So there are times that we have some, spiky utilization as far as that's concerned. But again, it's just a simple true up, on a monthly basis. I mean, if we roll that storage back, then we deal with it on a quarterly basis. So it makes it very easy.
All right, awesome. And you talked like not having to worry about your storage day-to-day needs, having more time to be proactive. Could you give us an example of maybe an initiative that resulted based on the fact that your staff now has more time to focus on more strategic initiatives for the business?
Yeah, so I had a team before Pure of probably 8 to 10 folks, in the storage team alone, because there's so much associated with managing the storage arrays. That team shrunk to probably like 3, but doesn't mean that those people went away. They actually went on to other things around, backup governance, cloud, different projects are happening in the cloud, different initiatives across infrastructure, either being PMs or various different. Every person had a new role that they were excited about, and a role that wasn't getting done because they were dealing with storage, right? And so it was a net win for the organization because that piece was now being taken care of. We didn't have to worry about it. So therefore, we could leverage that talent in other ways to transform our business and healthcare.
All right, that is an awesome example. I mean, going into Evergreen One, you must have anticipated some of these benefits. Were there some unexpected benefits or impact that you did not think about, and it came out only after you had started the relationship with Pure and deployed Evergreen One subscription?
Yeah, we've done multiple storage migrations in the past, and they have its own periodic process. When we started moving workloads to Pure, we would get calls and people saying, hey, my batch job, we're healthcare companies, so we have a lot of batch workloads that happen overnight, and they were saying my batch jobs have completed 2 to 3 hours early, and it looks like it ran okay, but I just don't understand how it could have completed that quickly. And those are typical calls you don't get from an infrastructure perspective. Usually it's like, oh, things are running too slow. And there's more of those type of things that people were noticing, that things were speeding up as we were moving workloads to the Pure system, and it was a really a good surprise that we typically don't get when we're doing these storage migrations. And normally, some of these jobs were getting goes right to the end of the morning. And if that data isn't available, then that creates operational issues for our business, because that data isn't available for a CSR who's taking calls, and they don't have the latest data to talk to our customers for. So having those batch jobs completed in a timely fashion in advance of the day really makes a big difference.
All right, that is a great story. Yeah, normally as an IT director, you would get calls, people complaining that my application is too slow. For them to call up and say, "How come it's too fast?" That is phenomenal. Yeah, cool, very good. Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about Evergreen One SLAs, Evergreen One, the ability to scale as you need it, the fact that you can get more proactive with it. Did you ever have experience with our customer success people? Like, did you have to call in for an issue? How did that work out if that actually came about?
I think the support structure at Pure is unparalleled. I mean, I feel like when you call in for support, it is a senior level engineer. And oftentimes we don't have to call in support, because oftentimes you're reaching out to us because there's something that you notice, on your side, more proactive. Our account teams and SEs are fantastic. Oftentimes we don't even have to call in, because our SE and account team can handle it and have, answer the questions that we have. But all in all, it's been a great experience, from a support perspective.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so that's always great to hear. Yeah, in fact, somebody was sharing that more than 50% of the cases, customer cases, Pure Storage will open themselves and close, and then tell the customer, "Hey, we found a problem, we fixed it, and here it was." So, all right, cool. Anil, before we move on, anything that we may have not talked about that you think our viewers would like to know from you?
Yeah, I think if you want to spend more time on, I guess in IT in general, we're always focused around the technology. As we grow as an organization, our IT individuals really should be focused on the business value. And if you can find technologies or processes that take away some of the complexity, so you can focus on the business value, that's where IT needs to be in this next generation, or will become legacy, or business will work around us versus working through us. So it's going to be critically important for us to implement technologies like Pure to get us to where we want to be.
All right, awesome. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Let me sum up. So Evergreen One, as you heard from Anil, is our storage as a service offering from Pure Storage. And some of the key benefits you heard from Anil, it's an SLA-driven subscription service. So you can actually focus on outcomes instead of focusing on infrastructure. And what's also unique about it is the business model, right? The business model makes sure that you have efficient provisioning. It makes sure that you have the right resources. It makes sure that you have the right footprint so that you can actually reduce your power and your space requirements. And the whole Evergreen experience, it's built on this evolutionary architecture that, gone are the days of the old storage refresh. And it provides this effortless, proactive monitoring and management experience through a SaaS control plane. And many of these actions that as a storage administrator you have to do on a day-to-day basis can be automated for you. You can get proactive insights through it, just generally giving you a very efficient and effortless experience, as well as elastic scale with Evergreen One. So again, I'd like to thank Anil for the time that he spent to walk you through the use cases. And just before we go, Anil, any tips and tricks you would like to share for our users who are thinking about storage as a service, or who are dealing with the traditional refresh cycle, and like you, scratching their head and saying, why do I have to keep buying the same thing over and over again? Anything you'd like to share that, as the title of the slide says, I wish I knew when I was knew this 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think two things. I think you should just stay flexible, right? Be a broker of services versus a technology a leader. I mean, as far as that's concerned, being able to broker services across different technologies, and pick vendors that you can partner with. Where one of the things I love about Pure is like when there's a new software function, we get it because we're on the subscription. And so if you pick the partner on early, you kind of grow with that partnership and you grow that partnership. So that's probably the two things that I would say. And I would say is like what's new is old again, and what's old is new again, right? So things constantly change in IT that shrinks and grows back. And we had the mainframe back in the day, and now we have the cloud, and in between we had distributed systems. So it's always changing. It's always interesting. You just have to pivot when the technology presents itself.
Yeah, no, it's all about agility. I totally agree with you, right? And I think in order to adapt to the changing business needs, I think IT needs to become as agile as possible. And if you want to get more information on Evergreen One, it has a ton of resources that explain how Pure Storage with its Evergreen One storage subscription can help IT get that agility, how it can deliver that SaaS control plane so that you have that constant access to innovation, and how it can completely change the storage refresh paradigm on its head, where you are, instead of an asset that is diminishing in value, you get storage that actually gets better over time. So I'd invite you to go check out purestorage.com/evergreen1 to get more information. And with that, Scott, I wanted to see if there are any questions we can answer.
Yeah, okay. So Taruna and Anil, great conversation. And I just have to say, Anil, I was especially struck by your story of going from an 8 to 10 member storage team down to 3, with the employees moving into roles where they're providing more value to the business and also advancing their careers. I mean, it's just a great example of how things are supposed to work when you invest in innovative technology like Evergreen One. So really appreciate that story. And it looks like we do have time for one question from the audience. And this one has to do with, the many companies who started out a little leery of cloud storage because they weren't sure about the security. Cloud security has proven not to be a problem, but cloud storage cost has been on the minds of many of late. So this question looks like it's for Taruna. How does Evergreen One help to address the cost of cloud storage?
Oh, that's a great question, and maybe it's one of the topics we did not get to touch upon. So Evergreen One at its performance level subscription comes with a cloud block store, right? And so it's a single subscription that enables customers to use this Evergreen technology either on premises through storage that is deployed there, or actually move some of these benefits of Evergreen architecture to their cloud storage. And I'm talking native public cloud here. So if you're using AWS or Azure and you have storage over there and you're concerned about how much storage bill you're getting from these hyperscalers, one of the things that Cloud Block Store does for you is that you can take the benefits of the data compression, of the consolidation, and actually apply it to your cloud storage. And we've had a lot of customers who've saved a ton of money by deploying the Evergreen architecture and the benefits that come with it on these native public clouds.
Great. Well, unfortunately, we're up on time, but this has really been an excellent presentation. We thank you both for joining today and sharing your insights with our audience.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you, Anil, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Taruna and Anil, for a great discussion and for your insights there in the Q&A. We really appreciate your time today. And before we wrap up, we have one more piece of business. It's the $300 Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the $300 Amazon gift card is Brian Teeter from Indiana. So congratulations to Brian. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Pure Storage for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a great rest of your day.